No, it's a real show from the 80s. They had a little girl robot as a pet. I don't know why when I do it I have to talk to the police. Today we're taking a look back at the NFL draft and the rookies that were drafted, how they reshaped the teams that took them, and which ones you should grab for fantasy football. We've broken down just about every division so far. This is the AFC South. Welcome to Shut Up Football. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus. That's Kevin. And you know, there are a lot of YouTube channels about football. Some teach you the game itself. Some talk about analytics. We look for storylines here, because every player who gets drafted, every free agent that gets signed, every move by an NFL team is a story, and every story has already been told. That's what we're doing today. We're looking for storylines, and we're looking at every rookie that was drafted in this division with a healthy skepticism and a skosh of shenanigans. Let's see what Houston has to offer. Kid attractions? Oh, that's sick! They mean Houston Texans. With the second overall pick, the Texans took quarterback CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. It's like the saying goes, the second quarterback taken in the draft always works out. He's 6'3", 214 pounds. He threw for over 8,000 yards and a metric ton of touchdowns in his 2 years starting at Ohio. He's walking into a starting role. Davis Mills can now rest his baby giraffe ass on the bench. There are a couple of concerns about CJ Stroud as he enters the NFL. First of all, he flunked some dopey smart test called the S2. But as long as a cognitive test doesn't break out in the middle of a game, he's probably okay. Another knock is that Ohio quarterbacks have never succeeded in the NFL, which is really a shitty shot across the bow of Justin Fields, but also, nobody's ever done anything until they've done it. I mean, nobody went to the moon until they did. My real concern with CJ Stroud, even though I liked him probably more than any other quarterback at the start of this process, was simply that, what if he turns out to be Jared Goff? And that's not necessarily a horrible thing. Jared Goff has been successful enough to have a career in the NFL to this point, but I would be disappointed if he just turned out to be Jared Goff, especially for fantasy. He's currently being mocked in 12-team rookie drafts in about the middle of the first round, where you can often find Bryce Young and sometimes even Anthony Richardson. So your choices would be the small first overall pick, CJ Stroud, or the electric boogaloo that is Anthony Richardson. If you're having to choose between those quarterbacks in the middle of your first round, one thing worth thinking about might be, who are they throwing the ball to? In the third round, the Texans took wide receiver Nathaniel Tank Dell out of Houston. Kind of on the nose that the Texans took a guy named Tank. He's 5'8", 165 pounds, and runs a 4.49. In college, he had over 3,000 receiving yards and 32 touchdowns. One thing worth mentioning is, there might be a Stroud-Tank Dell connection. They met during the pre-draft process, and once the Texans took Stroud, he told them to take Tank Dell, which they did, which either means they listened to him, or that was a fantastic coincidence. Looking at the depth chart, we've got Robert Woods, Nico Collins, and John Mechie. Woods is 31 years old. He's on a 2-year deal, but there is an out after this year. Collins is a third-rounder, and Mechie is still basically a rookie after last season was taken away from him when they found leukemia. The pluses for Tank Dell are he actually is a very good receiver. He's shifty, he's got good speed, and I think that the draft capital speaks pretty loudly. The concerns I have for Tank Dell are not depth chart related. I think there's room here, but he's small. And I don't mean like Tyreek Hill, Steve Smith small. I mean like puppy in a pocketbook small. I think some of the reasoning they took Tank Dell was to have insurance behind John Mechie, and just to get more depth in general, as it is kind of a thin receiving core. It's possible that even with the high draft capital, Tank Dell might only be used on kick returns, occasional use, and he might not be a consistent fantasy producer. He's currently being mocked in about the middle of the third round, and nope, not for me. I'd rather take my chances on John Mechie. In the sixth round, they grabbed wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. He's 6'2", 203 pounds, and runs a 4.53. Xavier Hutchinson is a big-body possession receiver, and at times he reminds me of Michael Thomas. I'm not concerned about his speed. That's never been the way that he wins, but I am concerned a little bit about his draft capital. Sixth round is pretty low. Now, he's being mocked at the top of the fourth round, and there's nobody else close there that I would want. It's easily Xavier Hutchinson. My expectations are nothing for him in his rookie year. However, I do believe in his talent, so I'm willing to stash him and bet that his talent will rise and he will find a role here within the next year. Here's their group of undrafted free agents. I was surprised they didn't take a running back in the draft, not because I doubt Dameon Pierce, but because I thought they could use a compliment to him. I guess they're comfortable with Devin Singletary and Mike Boone. There was one running back in this group that was interesting, Xavier Valade out of Arizona State. He's 5'11", 204 pounds, ran a 4.46 at his pro day. He's got an RAS of 9.42. He's not taking anyone's job here, but he does have more speed than any of the other running backs here, outside of Mike Boone. Indianapolis Colts. Holy anaconda, they did it! Anthony freaking Richardson! I didn't think they had the stones. At 4th overall, the Colts took quarterback Anthony Richardson out of Florida. He's no ordinary Florida man. 6'4", 244 pounds, and runs a 4.43. He's built like a linebacker and runs like a wideout. He's also only 20 years old, 1 year younger than Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Is he the immediate starter? Maybe. We're doing that veteran dance right now where we're all pretending that maybe Minshew will start games. You know how it goes. They do this every year. Oh, Colts, how do you think you got the 4th overall pick? Unless Anthony Richardson is absolutely tragic in practice, there's no way Minshew's starting games. Have you seen their owner, Jim Irsay? Does he look like a patient man? Plus, Coach Steichen has experience with a young, mobile quarterback since he's worked with Jalen Hurts before, and he can help hide some of those deficiencies. My concerns are, obviously, does he suck? Because he might. But I don't think that he does. He's just high risk, high reward. Other questions I have are how much will he run? Or will they copy the Eagles' tush push? He's large enough to do it. Could they push the tushes? His ADP is kind of all over, but in a 1 QB league, he's basically going about the middle of the first round. In a Superflex league, he can go as high as 101. I personally have taken him at 102 in a rebuilding Superflex league where I needed a quarterback. And why not swing for the fences? However, I'm not expecting the moon from him in his rookie year. I just think he's got a tremendous amount of fantasy upside. He's got a big arm. He's got big legs. That's weird to say. He's runny. Nope, that's eggs. He's mobile. He's mobile. He's mobile. He's got good receivers around him. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. I mean, he's got the tight end Jelani Woods and a fantastic ground game to lean on. He's really going to be set up for success. In the 3rd round, they took wide receiver Josh Downs out of North Carolina. He's 5'9", 171 pounds, and ran a 4.48. He's got 2 1,000-yard receiving seasons. The depth chart here is Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, and a bunch of guys. They needed a wide receiver. Really bad. And Downs is an immediate starter. He doesn't have to pass anybody. This is a fantastic landing spot for him. One of my concerns would be his size, but obviously with Pittman, Pierce, Woods, they all have a lot of size, so it might not matter so much for him. Currently, he's being mocked about the back of the 1st round, top of the 2nd round in 12-team rookie drafts, and honestly, I don't feel that strongly about him. I'm apathetic about Josh Downs. He's fine. Take him there, don't take him there. I don't really care. In the 5th round, they took tight end Will Mallory out of Miami. He's 6'5", 239 pounds, has great metrics across the board. The tight end depth chart is Jelani Woods, Kylan Granson, and Mo Alley Cox. Kylan Granson is only 6'1", which, not my tight end, hashtag not my tight end. Jelani Woods is physically impressive, and he's still growing into the role. He hasn't been playing tight end all that long, really. For me, Mallory has ideal size and metrics across the board. He's got an RAS of 905. Will Mallory is being mocked about the middle of the 4th round. I don't really love stashing a tight end that is the same age as the starter. He's got no obvious path and low draft capital. I feel like he was a luxury pick for the Colts, and he's probably one for fantasy managers for now. In the 5th round, they took running back Evan Hall out of Northwestern. He's 5'10", 209 pounds, and ran a 4.47. Is he good? Yeah, he's good. He's got good metrics, good size, and he was productive in college. He had 1,000 yards rushing 1 year and 900 another year. The depth chart is Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, Deion Jackson, and Jake Funk. Now, he's not better than Jonathan Taylor, but Taylor has missed a few games over both of the last 2 seasons. Moss is in the last year of his rookie deal from the Bills. He was traded. Hull is a very good backup for Jonathan Taylor. He's being mocked about the back of the third round right now. You would have to choose between him, Eric Gray, and Sean Tucker. You'd also be picking between wide receivers Kayshon Boutte and Michael Wilson. And I kind of get a sneaky suspicion that Michael Wilson might be more valuable in fantasy football in a year. Hall is a very good running back, but I think you would just call him a really good handcuff for Jonathan Taylor. I will say out of their UDFA group as a whole, they had a lot of guys with plus athleticism, a lot of really high athletic scores, but nobody stood out to me on tape. Jacksonville Jaguars. In the second round, the Jaguars took tight end Brent Strange out of Penn State, aptly named because I thought this was a strange-ass pick, at least to me. He's 6'4", 253 pounds. Pretty good metrics. He's got an RAS of 909, so he's good and athletic. He wasn't on my radar pre-draft, but it looks like he's a good route runner, can get yak, able to block. The depth chart for the tight ends is Evan Ingram, Luke Farrell, and Garrett Prince. Farrell is limited athletically, not a fantasy asset. Prince is only a developmental prospect, and for depth. Ingram is the clear starter, but he's on a one-year deal because he got franchise tagged. Now, they're trying to work out something long-term, but he's also 28 years old. There's a high level of draft capital invested in Strange, so they do expect things out of Strange. They expect things with Trevor Lawrence with Strange, which is a good thing. But he does have concerns. First of all, his tape wasn't very impressive. He feels like a real reach by the Jags. There were better tight ends that went after him, and it felt like they were projecting what he could be, as if, what if they don't re-sign Evan Ingram in a year? Now, he could be the starter next year, but I'm not banking on that. They're just as likely, if not more likely, to sign Ingram to an extension. Strange is currently being mocked about the back of the fourth round, and it's really not about him at that point. There's a reasonable path here towards starting next year, so at that price, why not? In the third round, they took running back Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. 6 foot, 210 pounds, runs a 4.50. He had 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns in his last 2 seasons in college. Currently, the running back depth chart is Travis Etienne, Jermichael Hasty, DeErnest Johnson, and Snoop Connor. Snoop Connor. Now, Bigsby is not better than Etienne. However, he is better than every other running back backup here. Is he the James Robinson replacement? I think he's actually the James Robinson upgrade. My only concern with Bigsby would be, do they slow roll his involvement? And he does have a few deficiencies in his game, lateral quickness, but Etienne more than makes up for that. He's currently being mocked about the middle of the second round, and I think that's spot on. Your running back options change dramatically after Bigsby. So far, I've heard nothing but good stuff about Tank Bigsby in camp, and I do think he's going to be heavily involved. I also don't expect it to hurt Travis Etienne's numbers at all. I think they're both going to have good standalone value, and that's based on talent, and it's based on Peterson's past with Philadelphia, where he's already shown that he can use multiple backs and have them be successful. In the sixth round, they took wide receiver Parker Washington out of Penn State. He's 5'10", 204 pounds, and runs a 4.49. His size is okay, his speed is okay, where he excels is fight, yards after catch, and he has the ability to play on special teams. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones are all the top spots here, and Parker Washington is not going to get in the way of that. His draft capital means nothing, and Washington is more like a worker bee. There's no sizzle there. Currently, he's being mocked about the top of the fourth round, where you would have to choose between him, Will Mallory, Kenny McIntosh, maybe Lou Nichols III. I think he's going to be a solid depth receiver, worth taking at cost. Tennessee Titans. Will Levis's worst nightmares were realized after he spent the first night of the draft holding down a couch and playing Wordle. In the second round, the Titans finally ended his torment by drafting him. Now he can sit behind Ryan Tannehill for a year and watch as Malik Willis descends into madness as he questions everything in his life that brought him to this moment. Last year, he was a potential first-round pick. Now he's being replaced by a guy who can't figure out how bananas work. Will Levis is 6'4", 229 pounds. He's mobile, he's got a cannon for an arm, and he likes to put mayo in his coffee. He's some kind of goddamn food terrorist. Tannehill's 34 years old. Somebody call the cops, they just put a hit out on Tannehill. It's a little too obvious they're trying to replace him. I mean, his body's not even cold yet, and they're already speed dating. Malik Willis was a third-round draft pick, and they clearly don't like him. Last year, Vrabel benched him in the preseason for running the ball. He's a mobile quarterback. They also brought in Josh Dobbs to start. He was only there for 2 weeks before he took over. Not a good sign. Levis is currently being mocked in the back of the second round, but unlike in real life, he's actually being drafted early. I feel like Will Levis is a mashup between Daniel Jones and Johnny Manziel. Now I will say, he's definitely the last stand if you want to get a QB this year, but I don't entirely understand why, because I feel like he's going to sit a year behind Tannehill, or at the best plays at the very end of the season. There are better rookies coming in next year. If you're going to have to wait a year on Will Levis, why not just wait and actually draft a better QB next year? In the third round, they took running back Tajae Spears out of Tulane. He's 5'10", 201 pounds, and ran a 4.59. The depth chart here is Derrick Henry, Hassan Haskins, and Julius Chestnut. Derrick is 29 years old right now, and like I said, the cliff is coming. He takes a lot of hits. Spears is better than all of the other backups here, and he was one of my top 10 backs coming into the draft. However, I do have major concerns. He ran a wee bit slow at his pro day. He's only had 1 year of 1,000-yard rushing production. He's coming off an injury. He tore 2 ACLs. Dos. He's arthritic. He's missing cartilage in his knees. They say he can still be productive, but it's likely going to be a short career. And the example that people are already giving is Tajae. Currently, he's being mocked at the back of the second round in 12-team rookie drafts, and I'm actually seeing him fall later than that. My expectations are running backs already have a short enough career already. I don't need this crap on top of that. Even with third-round draft capital, I could still see them drafting another running back next year, and I'd just rather invest somewhere else. In the fifth round, they took tight end Josh Whyle out of Cincinnati. 6'7", 248 pounds. Very good metrics. He's got an RAS of 8.98. The depth chart here is Chig Okonkwo, Trevin Wesco, and just a bunch of made-up names. Chig is the man, and I don't usually like tight ends that are shorter, but damn it, he's Chig. He's like a tight end that's like an RB. Like when he gets the ball in his hands, the way he runs is like a running back. Now there is room for Whyle here. He does have a different profile than Chig. My concerns are there's no guarantee of anything here. They could draft another tight end next year, and Whyle needs time to develop. He's being mocked nowhere, not in the top 4 rounds anyway. My expectations here are not high. He could turn into a big body target for the red zone. He does have size and athleticism, and he does offer a different profile than Chig, but I'm probably not investing. In the 7th round, they took wide receiver Colton Dell out of Tennessee Martin. He's 6'3", 212 pounds, and ran a 4.42. He's like a priority UDFA that they accidentally drafted late. I don't think he's worth fantasy investment, and if you're looking for a bargain in this wide receiving room, go check out Kyle Phillips from last year. It is possible that I enjoy their UDFAs more than their actual draft picks here. Wide receiver Kieris Jackson out of Georgia Tech. 5'11", a $196, runs a 4.55. He's got an RAS of 7.56. He's just a good, solid receiver. Nothing really stands out. He's just really solid. I could see him sticking to the bottom of this roster for years. Wide receiver Jacob Copeland out of Maryland. He's 5'11", 201 pounds, and runs a 4.42. He's got good speed and great hands. His body control, concentration, and ability to win 50-50 balls were all very impressive. He fights for every inch, just drags defenders with him. I really like him. He looks like the kind of downfield threat that Will Levis would enjoy. He's on my watch list. We're almost done here. We've done every division except one, and then we're off to team breakdowns, some news, and we're off to roasting another season. Thank you so much for watching Shut Up Football. We do appreciate it. As always, please leave your comments below, like, subscribe, say hi to your mom for me, and we'll catch you next time. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Is he here to replace John Woods? John Woods? Who the fuck is John Woods? So I'm not concerned about his seed. Seed? Hashtag not my tight end.